Good morning. It's Festus here again. Make sure you like, subscribe for more financial content. And thank you for tuning in today. This is my second video on this channel, and I'm happy to be here to speak with you today. Currently, I'm in my backyard, and I'll be talking about real estate this time around. And what am I doing in order to still buy properties even in this high inflated market with interest rates at over 7%. So in 2021, I knew that for me, I didn't want to pay rent that was equivalent to a mortgage, right? So if my rent was equivalent to my mortgage, depending on your state, rents may be cheaper than your mortgage, right? So it may be better for you to invest the rest of your money while renting a place that you don't have to upkeep and things like that. However, the first property I had, the first rental that I was renting was $945 back in 2020. And of course, that didn't include utilities like gas, electricity, and everything else. So I got a property that was about $140K, and that cost me about $700 a month. So I saw a savings of over $200, not including utilities, of course. I ended up only living in that property for 1 month, going to the Army for 8 months. And so when I came back, I needed another property. And I still knew, of course, over the last 8 months that it was cheaper to buy than to rent. So I purchased another property, but this time I wanted to go bigger and better and have a garage for myself, especially in the winter seasons. And so that led to me buying a property that cost me almost $1,200 a month. I was paying that basically with utilities as a rental. However, this property was a lot closer to more jobs, had a lot more access, and it had an extra bedroom. So what did I do? I house hacked that property. But I actually house hacked both rooms, which canceled out my mortgage completely. So this way, instead of me just saving my personal income, I'm also building equity through principal in the home while I am still saving my personal income, right? So in 2021, I was able to do all that and get rates under 3%. Now, to me, I would personally love to still buy properties at 4.5% or better. But we all know that those rates won't be coming for some time. You might not see that until 2026 or later, right? So definitely not in 2023. So we have to work with what we have, and we have to understand rents, of course, will go up because property taxes are soon to rise. The property values in this neighborhood have gone up $30,000 to $70,000, even at 7% rates. So I do believe that it was necessary to increase interest rates because these houses would have been well over $100,000 in just a year's time if it's already at $70,000 in 6 months. You understand, with rates at 7.5%. So I did buy in a good area. I did buy where property values are still lower than the average American household. Of course, you know, families are typically using their joint incomes to buy properties. So that $460,000 range is probably two incomes most of the time, right? So when I bought a property for $215,000, that's almost half of what the average home costs. When it goes up to $240,000, that's not a bad deal for someone with money or someone who just sold and is trying to get into something cheaper, right? Or someone who just traveled and is trying to look for something else. But then you see the homes across the street that might have sold for $285,000 because they got an extra bath or an extra bedroom that were $285,000 just October 2021. Now in October 2022, they're selling for $340,000, still lower than the average American household when they purchase a home. However, again, this allows people to still get into these homes. You get a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath for $340. That's a still, even at 7.5% interest rates, right? So what we see here is that when you buy into the right markets and the right locations, you get a better return, a better value. You see how peaceful, how quiet it is out here. There's a school right across the street with a park. People walk their dogs. People are enjoying themselves. And so have another property that only went up 5 to 10,000 in the last 2 years, especially with rates at 7.5%, that is expected of that location, of that neighborhood, right? But over here, in less than 6 months, we tripled the equity that that property has grown by, right? If that one has grown by 10,000 and this one has grown by 30,000 in the last 6 months, I've tripled what I've made in 2 years at my other property. So location is definitely important when looking at an asset and evaluating it. So although that property produces a higher cash flow for me with just one person renting it out, this property produces a higher return on equity in a means of appreciation, but I don't really get the cash flow from this one, right? So you got appreciation and you got cash flow. Which ones work for you? I'm looking for cash flow on both, right? But holding this one as an appreciating asset, knowing that it can rent for more, of course, in the next 5-10 years, how much it will rent for and still appreciate at is going to do wonders compared to my other property at a different location. And so what I'm looking for now is, can you afford it? And when I say afford it, I'm not talking about maxing out your income limits at 49%, but I'm also not talking about going as low as 30% of your income to purchase your next home, right? And it's also about making sure that you maintain a nice income on your taxes so that you can continue to afford these properties. So when I write off my expenses, I'm still showing a profit so that they can see that my income is increasing. I qualify for more, and that allows me to go into a market that is highly inflated with interest rates so high and still purchase good deals without being written off, right? I've never had a bad underwriting. It's always been a smooth process, and you want to continue to keep it that way, even in these inflationary environments, right? So moving forward, I'm looking for something that's affordable. I'm looking for something in that $1,500 to $1,900 a month range, knowing that people may pay $2,500 to $3,000 to live in this property. Typically, I pay 10% down on both of my properties because the interest rate is lower than 20% down. So that's something that most people don't know. But also, it lowers my mortgage payment rather than doing that 3.5%. And of course, I'm going conventional, so I don't have a PMI for the life of the loan, but instead only for the first 5 to 7 years of the loan. So when that PMI drop offs, that also increases my cash flow, not by much, but it does help in increasing that cash flow. And so there's a lot of benefits to going that conventional route, to putting that 10% down. Again, interest rate goes down rather than a 20%. You can play with a mortgage calculator and see what I'm talking about, how 20% affects your interest rate rather than 10. And then you can see that your payment, of course, is going to be cheaper if you put 10% down rather than 3.5% down. And so you get that as well. And then after 6-7 years, your PMI goes away. That lowers that mortgage more. You've probably increased rents. So there's so many wonderful things that you can do with 10% buy down on your properties. And in this market, because interest rates are so high and property values are going down, you can now start to negotiate certain things like 3% closing costs, things like that, in order to get the property already at a discount with some added benefits, some added things thrown in there. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for a steal, And I see that there are more properties that are going to be a steal, especially when you are in Columbus, Ohio, or markets like New York where it snows a lot. Going towards these December, January months, you're going to be able to find great deals in December, right? I just started a new job, and so I gotta wait 30 days for that for those paychecks to come in, so that when I go to a bank and I show them my income, they can see, okay, this guy makes X amount of money, this is what he qualifies for on top of his properties and everything else. So what I'm looking for, again, affordability. Can I afford it with my own income? And then when you add your tenants, does it turn a profit? I'm not looking for $100, $50 a month profits, even if it's an appreciating asset, right? I used to look for $700, $600 a month. But in this environment, in this market, in Columbus, you're going to probably find 400 to 300 right now. So still for me would be something in that $450 to $700 a month cash flow range. I would not accept nothing less, and then I'm looking for something that still appreciates well. How do I add value to these properties as well? Do I need to fix something up? Do I need to add something to it in order to get it to where I need it to be? These things will definitely help in making an informed decision, right? And so in this market, before, debt was king just last year. Debt was king. Debt was so cheap, right? Debt was under 3%. At that time, debt is definitely king. Buy up as much as you can, right? A lot of people don't have that foresight. And so looking back, you can say whatever you want now. Understood. But right now, I'm telling you, cash is what is king, right? Somebody coming in with cash to buy your property, you don't got to worry about interest rates continuing to go up, your underwriting falling through. You're going to have a lot more sellers that are willing to sell you a home in cash rather than taking an extra $5,000 or $10,000 because they know that you can pay for this, that is guaranteed, that is going to go through, that is not a waste of their time. And so people are going to be looking towards that cash and understanding that cash is king right now. And then, of course, if you're one of those people who are a friend of debt, even at 7%, which I don't think anybody should be, you can always refinance once you have the property. And of course, your rates are probably going to be better because you're refinancing a home that you already own. And so when you look at it that way, it may be better to buy fully in cash and then refinance to get a better rate. But of course, all the time that you spend on buying cash and then refinancing may result in a higher rate as well because rates are still rising. And with that time gap, that can affect, your mortgage. So that's also something to look at. Now, me personally, I don't plan to refinance any properties that were under 3% interest rates. I plan to pay those off, and I plan to keep buying. I may refinance a home that I buy in this inflated market because it's at 7%, and I may also take cash out if it makes sense. But I will not be taking cash out of a property that has a rate of 2.625%. In order to get $30,000 or $40,000 or $70,000. I don't think it's worth it to me. I think it's worth it to have a peace of mind and have a paid off property rather than do that. And continue to grow cash through my jobs and through my cash flow in order to purchase and buy more properties. And so you got to play your game. You got to understand what works for you. Some people may say, I'll take on a $200 or $300 payment for $30,000, finish the basement, and add an extra $800 a month in income and cash flow, even though the debt only costs $300 to $200. So you're getting another increase in your cash flow by $400 to $500, and that makes a whole lot of sense. But for me, I'd rather not. I can get $40,000, $50,000 in a year, save that up myself. Why would I refinance my home to do it a little bit sooner, right? And then, of course, the quicker you do things, the quicker you can continue to make money. But sometimes you need to slow yourself down. Sometimes you need to understand what is right for you and when it's right for you. in order to just have that firm mindset. Because when the mind goes, everything else goes. So you can do everything quick, everything can make sense. But if you're just speeding, you'll soon make a mistake. So you need to do things at your pace, at your time. You can understand that things make sense, but still do it at your own pace, right? So I got a lot of quotes from my basement because I actually do want to finish my basement here. And I was quoted around $40,000. I know that there's a lot of nurses in this area that I can Airbnb this out and make $1,000 a month easily. And the cost of doing all of this for $50,000 would probably cost me only $600 a month. So I can turn a profit of $400 every single month for a tenant that's not even long term. I don't got to worry about them too much. Maybe I got to hire a cleaning crew, and that will eat into my profits, maybe $150 a month. So now I'm making about $450 a month off of $50,000, $40,000 actually, $50,000 if I add the door for the outside. And so knowing that I can make that money, do I want to take out a loan for that, or do I want to simply save and get that money cash and just throw it at the house? Now, doing that method, I believe, I continue to pay off my home at a cheaper rate, and then I add some value to myself to where I'm actually getting an $800 a month profit rather than $300 a month profit because I owe X, Y, and Z and X, Y, and Z. And it doesn't take long, especially when you're single and doing things on your own. You see people who have families and can do this. So sometimes the easy way is not always the best way. Sometimes going the harder way just for two years or even 1 year may result in you saving 5-6 years in payments. And so you got to look at your life, evaluate it, and see what's right for you. I still think it's a great time to buy. I still think that if there's a deal, take advantage of it. Really, right now, rates at 7.5% only means that you need a property at the same price you could have bought it in 2021 at a 20% discount, and your payment should be about the same. So if you can get a 20% discount on a property in a good neighborhood that you know will appreciate, and maybe their carpet was messed up. That's how I got this house, right? The person died, unfortunately, and they had bad flooring. So 8 or 9 people came to see this property, and the flooring was so horrible that they all turned away, even in the inflated market where rates were only 3%. So when I came around, I didn't get to see the bad flooring. All I saw was the brand new carpet and new windows that they had just installed. So when I'm looking at this property, I'm seeing dollar signs. I was only in a bid with one other person who was paying cash at $205,000 for this property. I went over that at $215,000, but it wasn't cash, of course. In an environment where debt is so low, debt was still king, and I was able to get this property for that $215,000. I ended up renegotiating and getting it for really $210,000 because they had to do some foundation repair for about $5,000, and so that allowed me to get this property. I ended up doing this backyard work that you see here now. That cost me about $6,500, and that definitely increased the property even more. It's now evaluated at $240,000 in just a year. It's a year right now, so it's now evaluated at $240,000. So if somebody came with cash for $240,000, I would make a decent profit. Of course, I wouldn't sell because, again, I'm not even paying for this home. I have roommates paying my mortgage, and the longer I hold on to it, the more income I'm going to have. So in the next 5, 10, 15 years, this property is just going to be a moneymaker for me. It's definitely the best investment I've had, even though it doesn't cash flow as much as the other property. It provides me a place to live, food, and shelter. I'm not paying rent. It definitely does a lot for me, and so you got to take all those things into consideration. Some people don't want a house hack. completely understood. I didn't house hack the last property that I was at, even though I was there for a month. Just didn't like the people who were coming through. And so, again, you get to decide who you invite into your home. You get to decide who you want to live with you. And then as you grow into this game, whether you have a wife, girlfriend, or somebody helping you or not helping you, you get to decide what can you afford, even in this market. And if you can afford a house that's $200,000 or $100,000, but all the areas are bad and all the areas are not good, then I would tell you to just wait, depending on your location and state, because those properties will continue to drop even more, even if interest rates rise. And then just look into a better area that may be at 300,000, and let's say you can only afford 250, but interest rates go up another 1%. There's going to be that one property that, although the property is at 300,000, that property is going for 280, and for whatever reason that property is not selling at 280. When you come in, you write a letter, just like everybody else was doing at 3%. You write a letter and you tell them, hey, of course this property may need some work, right? And so they already understood that, and that's why they priced accordingly. And so they're not going to want to sell for lower than that. However, write a letter. I haven't had to do this yet, but if you write a letter and you tell them, hey, this is how much I can afford. I'm trying to stay $5,000 below that to ensure that I guarantee entry. You come in at 230 rather than 235, which would have been your max. They sell it to you for $50,000 discount after it have been on the market for almost 6 months, 5 months, right? You speak to them from that 3-month period to that 6-month period every 2 weeks, just to check in on them and see if you can get this deal. They may ask for that 235 number, and I would say go ahead, go in at that 235 number or whatever number works for you, right? And of course, if it has additional rooms, max it out, get people in there, get people to help pay your mortgage. And once you get in there, you fix up that property, you take the extra rent payments that you're getting in order to fix up the property, in order to improve on the property, and then that property will be valued at the same amount as the other homes. And within a year's time, you already have $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 in equity, just because you took a year to pay your mortgage yourself, and you took all that rental payment and used that to improve the property, whether it be a bad roof, whether it be bad windows, whether it be bad foundation, whether it be bad electrical systems, right? So just because you buy the property does not mean your work is done. You got to still put in some time. You got to still put in some effort into upholding it and improving it, right? And so when they say real estate is a long-term game, it truly is. But if you have the time to work, it should not take you more than a year or two to improve your situation drastically and increase your profitability. So in this market, you're looking for deals, you're looking for steals, you're looking for something that you can definitely improve. I believe that when you don't have money, it's the best time to invest. When you don't have money, it's the best time to invest, because you're going to make sure you find a deal that fits your situation. And everybody will always improve on their situation if they have that hunger, if they have that drive, right? So me being young and making X amount of dollars a year, I know 5, 10, 15 years from now, my money's going to double, my money's going to increase. So everything I'm buying now at a deal, because that's what I can afford, is only going to get better for me and only going to get better for my situation. So you want to continue to be hungry, continue to buy, especially when you don't have the income. You should be saving, you should be investing smartly, right? But what I mean by don't have the money is not that you don't have any money in your bank. If you don't have $1,000 to your name, that just means that you're not saving correctly. You're already not doing things financially sound in order to invest. So you need to work on your saving. You need to work on getting into better jobs. You need to work on investing in the right markets. And that way you will be the best version of yourself. Thank you for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.